Shelby couldn't bring himself to go near the tennis club. The memory of his breakdown, the feeling of everyone's eyes on him, it was just, too much. He thought about quitting tennis altogether. What was the point if he couldn't handle the pressure? But deep down, a flicker of defiance remained. He wanted to prove them wrong. He wanted to prove himself wrong. He wanted to play again. Days turned into weeks. Shelby practiced alone, his only company the rhythmic thud of the ball against his old racket. He worked on his serve, his backhand, his footwork. Every swing was fueled by a quiet determination to come back stronger. He couldn't erase the past, but he could learn from it. He knew the club members whispered about him. He could practically hear their doubts. He choked, they'd say. He can't handle the big games. Their words were like invisible barbs pricking at his resolve. But with each punishing practice session, a new voice began to emerge within him, a voice that whispered back, "Just watch me." He knew he couldn't hide forever. The annual club tournament, a doubles event this year, was fast approaching. He knew he had to face his fears, face the whispers, face the court again. This time, he was determined to write his own story. The doubles pairings were announced, and Shelby's stomach dropped. His partner was Sterling, the younger brother of his old nemesis, Shane. Sterling, with his cool demeanor and effortless grace on the court, was everything Shelby wasn't. Shelby had always felt an unspoken rivalry with Sterling, an extension of his animosity towards Shane. Now they were supposed to be a team? It seemed impossible. Their first practice session was a disaster. Sterling, used to playing with Shane's aggressive style, found Shelby's cautious game frustrating. "You need to attack the net more," Sterling insisted, his tone laced with impatience. "Don't be afraid to go for your shots." Shelby bristled at the criticism, the old feelings of inadequacy resurfacing. "Easy for you to say," he muttered under his breath. "You've never choked under pressure." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken tension. Sterling's face hardened, and for a moment, Shelby regretted his outburst. The next few practice sessions were a tense dance of clashing styles and simmering resentment. Shelby, still haunted by his past failures, played tentatively, afraid to make a mistake. Sterling, used to his brother's unwavering confidence, grew increasingly frustrated with Shelby's hesitation. Their communication was minimal, their movements on the court disjointed and out of sync. As the tournament neared, a shift began to occur. Sterling, witnessing Shelby's dedication during their grueling practice sessions, started to see past his initial perception. He saw the way Shelby pushed himself, the way he analyzed every shot, the way his eyes burned with a quiet determination. One day, during a particularly frustrating practice, Sterling stopped mid-court and turned to Shelby. "Look," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "I get it. You're scared, but you're letting it control you." Shelby, taken aback by Sterling's unexpected empathy, could only stare at him. "My brother," Sterling continued, "he thrives on pressure. He uses it to intimidate his opponents. But you," he said, placing a hand on Shelby's shoulder, "you're different. You need to find a way to channel that pressure, to use it as fuel." Shelby considered Sterling's words. For the first time, he saw a glimmer of understanding in Sterling's eyes, a recognition of the battle he was fighting within himself. And slowly, a bridge of respect began to form between them, replacing the wall of animosity that had separated them for so long. The day of the tournament dawned bright and sunny, the air buzzing with anticipation. As Shelby and Sterling stepped onto the court for their first match, the weight of expectation pressed down on them. Their opponents were formidable, but it was the sight of Shane and Kieran smirking from the sidelines that sent a jolt of nervous energy through Shelby. The first set was a tight affair, both teams trading points, their movements on the court still a little hesitant, their partnership still new and untested. But as the match progressed, something clicked. Sterling's calm demeanor began to rub off on Shelby, steadying his nerves. He started to trust his instincts, to play with a newfound aggression that surprised even himself. The final set went down to the wire, the score tied at 6-all. The tension was palpable, the crowd on the edge of their seats. But this time, Shelby didn't crumble. He met Sterling's gaze across the net, and in that moment, a silent understanding passed between them. They were in this together. With a roar, Shelby unleashed a powerful serve that his opponent could only weakly return. Sterling, anticipating the shot perfectly, smashed a volley down the line, securing the match-winning point. The crowd erupted, and Shelby and Sterling embraced, their faces etched with exhilaration and relief. They had done it. They had beaten Shane and Kieran. The victory in the doubles tournament was a turning point for Shelby. It wasn't just about the trophy. It was about overcoming his fears, about proving to himself that he could handle the pressure. The win instilled in him a newfound confidence, a belief in his own abilities that he had never felt before. He no longer walked with his head down, avoiding the gazes of other club members. The whispers about his past failures no longer held the same power over him. He had something to prove, and he was determined to show everyone what he was truly capable of. The singles tournament was just around the corner, and for the first time, Shelby felt a surge of excitement rather than apprehension. He knew the road ahead would be tough, filled with seasoned players and unpredictable challenges. But he was ready. He had faced his demons and emerged stronger. The memory of his breakdown, once a source of shame and doubt, now served as a reminder of how far he had come. He had stumbled, he had fallen, but he had risen again. And this time, he was determined to stay on his feet. The singles tournament was a whirlwind of adrenaline and intensity. Shelby, armed with his revitalized game and newfound confidence, faced each opponent with a quiet determination. There were baseliners, their shots heavy with topspin, testing his patience and endurance. There were serve and volley specialists, rushing the net at every opportunity, forcing him to play with precision and finesse. Each match was a lesson, a test of his skill and temperament. He learned to adapt his game to different playing styles, to exploit weaknesses, and to stay calm under pressure. The fear of failure, once a debilitating force, now morphed into a quiet determination to succeed. He sailed through the early rounds, his confidence growing with each victory. He wasn't playing to prove anyone wrong anymore. He was playing for himself, for the sheer joy of the game. And as he progressed through the tournament, he realized that winning wasn't everything. It was about the journey, the challenges he overcame, the lessons he learned along the way. The tournament wasn't just about the matches, it was about the camaraderie, the shared passion for the sport that united players from all walks of life. He found himself cheering for his fellow competitors, even those he had lost to, recognizing the dedication and sportsmanship that bound them together. The semifinals pitted him against Shane. The atmosphere was electric with anticipation, the crowd buzzing with excitement. Shane, true to his nature, played with an arrogant swagger, his every shot laced with a need to dominate. He tried to get into Shelby's head, muttering under his breath, trying to rattle him, but Shelby remained unfazed. He remembered Sterling's words, "He thrives on pressure, but you're different." He wouldn't let Shane's mind games affect him. He would play his game, his way. He countered Shane's aggression with a calm resilience, his shots finding the lines with increasing confidence. The final was against Kieran, a player known for his strategic brilliance and relentless consistency. The pressure was immense, the weight of expectation bearing down on Shelby's shoulders. But he had come too far to let it get to him now. He had faced his fears, conquered his doubts, and found strength in the most unexpected of friendships. Kieran, with his tactical prowess, pushed Shelby to his limits. Long rallies became a chess match, each player anticipating the other's moves, searching for the slightest opening. The crowd watched in hushed silence, captivated by the display of skill and determination. The final set went down to a nail-biting tiebreaker. The score seesawed back and forth, each point hard-fought, each rally a test of nerves and endurance. Shelby, his heart pounding in his chest, clung to his focus, reminding himself of how far he had come. He visualized each shot, his feet moving instinctively, his racket becoming an extension of his will. He played with a freedom he had never experienced before, the fear that had once paralyzed him now replaced by a quiet confidence. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the moment arrived. Match point. Shelby took a deep breath, steadying his nerves, and stepped up to the service line. This was it. 1 point for everything. The serve exploded off his racket, a blur of yellow streaking across the court. Kieran, caught off guard by the power of the serve, could only manage a weak return. Shelby, seeing his opportunity, seized it with both hands, unleashing a forehand winner that kissed the sideline, sealing the victory. The crowd erupted, their cheers washing over him in a wave of sound. He had done it. He was the champion. Standing on the podium, trophy in hand, Shelby looked out at the cheering crowd. He saw his fellow competitors, their faces reflecting a mixture of admiration and respect. He saw Sterling, a proud grin on his face, and for a moment, their eyes met across the crowd, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had shared. He had come a long way from the shy, insecure boy who had first stepped onto the court all those months ago. He had faced his fears, conquered his doubts, and emerged from the crucible of competition stronger than ever before. The victory wasn't just about the trophy, it was about the transformation he had undergone. He had learned that true strength lay not in the absence of fear, but in the courage to confront it. He had discovered the power of perseverance, the importance of believing in himself, even when others doubted him. As he stepped off the podium, surrounded by his friends and fellow competitors, Shelby felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey had been long and arduous, but it had brought him to this moment, a moment of triumph and self-discovery. He had found his voice not just on the court, but in life, and he knew with a certainty that resonated deep within him that this was just the beginning. The future stretched before him, filled with possibilities, and he was ready to embrace it with open arms.